Hello everyone and welcome to a very fun Nick Oldhead video. No stress of Warcraft 3 today. No one has to press the buttons, no one has to time anything, right? We just get to talk about it. We get to think about it because, as you know, if you're subscribed to this channel, you probably see my posts where I'm just like randomly asking you questions. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they're completely nonsensical, but sometimes they're like interesting and they have nice typos like barrier. But we're going to talk about what unit I think needs a buff, but not so much like, oh, balance wine, but I mean like if you were trying to fundamentally increase the win rate of a certain race, this would be the one unit I think you would just like ramp up in any way, shape, or form. I think you would ramp up either the Huntress, the Bat Rider, Militia, or the Crypt Fiend, and if you just make any of that stronger, the race will be happy, because it's just so important, I think, that these units kind of define, not necessarily the strongest points of the race, but they define the race's like limitations and what they have to do, right? Like, for example, the Night Elf seems like they must ignore the Huntress. Like, that's like part of what the game is. The Huntress is a trap. It's always been. You mass Huntress, and you can maybe end the game at like 8 minutes, 9 minutes. And like, I personally like that. I like Night Elf having this like, you know what, screw it. Tier 1, all in, mass AoEs, we're going Huntress. I think that's really cool. But I just think the nerfs that's happened to the Huntress over the time has just been way too much. I think that splash damage not hitting workers and the structure, like essentially the base destruction that Huntresses always threatened, I think that's important. And I think, 55 of you voted, and yeah, people still seem to think the Huntress is in a bad place. It's why Night Elf has to rush to tier 3, because the bear does everything better. But there's also, moving past Night Elf, right? We can only talk about one unit here, to Orc. Now, I love Grunts and Headhunters for the longest time. Orc used to have a maligned tier 1, but I think over the years, just the buffs. Orc tier 1 is actually really good. I think Headhunters are really good. I think Grunts with the increased heavy armor, the armor takes 10% reduced damage, and the fact that you have Healing Salve, now healing more, like Grunts are just in a good place. Especially because heroes are so important, and like tavern heroes are so important. Like sometimes if you have 2 or 3 Grunts in the early game, 3 Grunts is a little intense. If you choose 3 Grunts in the early game, you're like making a decision. But those Grunts can like do good against the heroes, the tavern heroes. So where does the Bat Rider come in to all this? Well, the Bat Rider is the only thing Orc can really do against air, and like every race knows that. So as an Orc player, when you're playing standard, it's almost always including a bestiary. You need some sort of bestiary. You go like double bestiary in most cases if you're really trying to like ladder climb, because you can always go bats, you can always just have these options. The same like Raiders and Bat Riders, I think like are kind of a defining Orc, and they're very swingy, and that, man, when you're playing Orc and you're winning, you feel like a genius, but when you're losing, you're like, what are these units? They do nothing. Like the Bat Rider does nothing. Have you ever like tried to face a human who has like 9 armor griffins and you have a bunch of bats? It's actually a trap to build Bat Riders, and that's kind of my main point with this post. I really do feel like it's sometimes a trap to build Bat Riders. You need to be so especially building a strategy around them, and yet they're really swingy. If you buff them too much, it's like the whole community whines. Actually, what we'll go through the comments after, because Reddit was chomping at the bit. By the way, to know, this is the Warcraft 3 Reddit. There are different subreddits of Warcraft 3, and believe it or not, they have different like identities. They like treat the same questions differently. So we then move on to human, militia. Now this is interesting because every poll needs to have a loser or a choice where people are like, what? That's clearly not the one. So what did we learn from this? The community or people think militia is fine. And like, yeah, I would say that. Militia is one of the strongest parts of human. And yet, if you were chiefly focused on making sure human was better, if you were trying to please fortitude, you just buff militia, right? So I think in that case, you can buff militia's armor class. I think militia need to feel like humans need to feel good when you see militia clashing with real units. That's how humans get value. Because no, like you shouldn't be fighting my workers, because after my workers are done brawling with you, they don't need to heal. They're just going to go back to work, right? Like that's why a militia can really get a double time. They're the best worker unit in the game. But I think in that same way, they've been nerfed, and over the years, humans have like had to make an entire game plan around militia. So like, yeah, throw them a bone. I think if you wanted to help humans, you buff militia. And then I think the Crypt Fiend. Now I may just say, a lot of the undeads are like, what? I don't think you need to buff Crypt Fiend at all, right? They're always talking about the other units you need to buff, abominations, necromancers, right? But no, meat wagons, right? That's one you hear a lot. But I actually think it's the Crypt Fiend that is so overshadowed by the ghoul. You really can't even, I mean, if you're trying to play Crypt Fiends, first of all, you need to play Death Knight, right? And if you're not playing Death Knight, like, why are you playing a Crypt Fiends? And the other thing is that Crypt Fiends are uniquely fodder to, like, a tri-hero. Maybe it's because I play Orc, but whenever I see Crypt Fiends, oh, great, you know, my Blade TC Shadow or is just going to get, like, level 3 and then maybe aided by a level 1 Shadow Hunter. We're just going to, like, hex farm your Crypt Fiends. And most races have, like, a game plan like that. You either, you know, bolt a Crypt Fiend, kill it, and then like disengage if you're human, or you know the Night Elf equivalent, I'm sure, with some entangle or some sort of bear dryad nonsense. But just Crypt Fiends aren't really the play, and yet I think they're the reason why Undead is always kind of rushing to tier 3, because like what, you're going to stay at tier 2 and do what with your anti-air unit? Like no, like you actually need a destroyer to rule the skies. You don't even need to think about a Crypt Fiends, right? So I just think that you should probably buff them. I think they personally give too much experience. I think if you give them the Wyvern treatment, lower the experience, and then yeah, let undead players mash Crypt Fiends. Let them do it. It shouldn't be the most punishing thing when you lose a fight and suddenly you're facing like level 4, level 5 heroes, because it's like, oh, I just lost a bunch of Crypt Fiends. So here's my thoughts on it, right? That's what I thought about it. And let's read the comments. Most popular comment: giving Huntresses unarmored instead of literally any other archetype will never not be offensive. 59 upvotes. So, you know, I'm quick to dismiss something like this because I'm like, what? Come on. Blizzard knew what they were talking about. Huntress is unarmored. Huntress is unarmored. But, you know, the more you think about it, like, it really breaks the fantasy, you know? People, like, the character model is wearing armor, right? Like, yeah, that's real. But at the same time, like, you are also, the Huntress is the Jaguar, right? Like, it's not, its entire body is pretty much unarmored, so you could make all sorts of arguments there. But this could be a big balance concern, right? I think that's why we have the Huntress heavy armor upgrade, right? But maybe an upgrade is too much. Maybe just having unarmored at tier 1 is so bad because of the existence of towers, burrows, riflemen, headhunters, spirit towers, right? It's just, if you see, I guess that's why, see, now I just love the theory crap. That's why a true mass hunts player knows you need glaives, right? You also need a glaive throwers. You can't just mass the hunts. You need a backline behind it. So, anyways, you know, perhaps they're hitting the mount. See, people thought killing Huntress is one an archer. That is hilarious, right? Because then you drop off the tiger. I mean, by that logic, Priestess of the Moon would have the same thing going, right? That's funny. Now here we go. Get some good posts. Militias are worker units, and buffing them drastically alters everything human. Yes, that's the point. Only buff militia if human is weak as a whole. As fortitude. Not the militia itself, which is the best work in the game. Yes, I've read that it's not that hunts are bad, just delays and tech. Yeah. No. Hunts are definitely bad. Let's not. Yes, it does delay a lot of things, but if hunts were good, then you would just stay with the hunts. You wouldn't think about bears because you'd have a good unit and then you'd win the game with that good unit. Or at least that's in the oldest school version of when Huntresses are good, it's when Keeper of the Grove is good. So you also have to be careful about that. If you want to buff Huntresses, you sometimes just like buff the Keeper. And we will be complaining about hunts. Don't worry. Taking away Batrider's ability to negate building heroes while toxic really nerf them. Yes, I agree. That's big. I've always thought this was lame. Because, like, what? It's supposed to be a checkmate. I'm a tier 3 orc and you've seen me go Batriders. Like, you didn't think your structures were safe. You need to do something about that. But, see, I think all of the other races have something like that. They have some, like, what? I'm tier 3 with infinite money. What did you think was going to happen? You know, you have humans with the tanks. You have undead with, you know, like frost worms, and they just creep the whole map. And you, of course, have a night elf with the dream army. Enough bears and dryads to do anything you want. And maybe even some chimps, who knows. But like orc, like their version of that, Tricaster, Taurens, Dream Orc army, like, it was always kind of competitively thwarted by the classic FFA strat, Blade Master Bats. It's so cool, I think. So yeah, I agree with this long writer here that I think it was a big deal when they got rid of that. So I think orcs need something in a return. If you're going to take away my ability as an orc player to just be like, nuh-uh, your buildings aren't safe if you let me get to this point, then I think, yeah, you got to upgrade that scales the unstable concoction damage. I think the ranged upgrade would be great for that. But I also just think it'd be interesting. I don't know where. I think maybe someone wrote it here, but someone had an idea. Maybe it's in one of the other things we'll read about, like, what if the Batrider had a damage over time effect? I think that's really cool. If the liquid fire upgrade gave the Batrider explosion. So, you know, interesting thread here. Let's see some other interesting things. Power seems a bit weak. Yeah. I think Huntress needs it so much. I agree. Yeah. Huntress don't need a buff. Their problem is that there's literally almost no reason to build them over bears. Yeah, unless you're cheesing. See, now I view cheesing differently. I think like having a counter swing, tempo push or punch. What's a punch and a push? It's a push. Having a tempo push like that at 9 minutes or 8 minutes with a bunch of Huntresses and like Ancient Protectors, I think that's a strategy win. I think Warcraft 3 is fundamentally a strategy game, so I don't like the word cheesing. I think cheesing, I hate to say it, it's how scrubs weasel in their mentality. That's kind of anti-esports. Like, hey, if you lost to it, it's great. It's good. That's how I view it. You can't AoE creep and mass hunters. Yeah, this is nice. I like this. Now we have some great high level. You can't AoE creep and mass hunters at the same time. It's true, but at the same time, mass hunters says. So it really comes down to when you're trying to creep with mass hunters, says what's taking damage. That's why you need Keeper of the Grove. You see, if Keeper of the Grove summons are better, or you need to have more strength or intelligence on the Keeper. Right now, the stat gains are too low, and Keeper is just too fragile. He dies at level 2 so often. Mass Hunters can work against Human Fast Expo or against Orcs if you burrow. Yep, that's true. Hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I mean, this is why this post has 11 upvotes. Let's give it another one, right? Great. Won't make it use more. The reality is that the issue is a structural problem of the game where there is little to risk going on tier 3. If you made the game much more risky to defend and tech, you would see more hunt usage. But I think 99% of the games go to tier 3 and such. You will always want bears over hunts. Well, see, the interesting thing about Warcraft 3 is as you engage your opponent for the first time, you can, for the first time, like get a read on how they're playing. Are they aggressive? Are they conservative? Right? You can start seeing their creeping patterns. You can start scouting their base and starting to figure out what they're doing. So, like, the keen player who's aware of all this, they're going to be like, they're weak to Huntresses. Now is the time. Let's build a second AOW. Let's build, let's make the rush happen. Which I think what we're talking about here, right? Like, they can be good versus Human Expo. But, see, this is an RTS. We are playing with risk. So if Night Elves, and I trust Night Elves, have learned it's just far too risky. Players are getting too good at defending Huntresses. Then let's just go tier 3. It's less risky, and now I have Bears and Dryads. And hey, look, I waited, 4 minutes, and I was just annoying you with, like, that Dryad, Naga, 4 Archers. It's a nighttime, so the Archers are hiding. Like, Night Elves can really... They've made an entire game plan out of rushing to tier 3. But I do sometimes think Night Elves are... I don't want to say, like, trapped in a mode of thinking, but, like, it's like, yeah, you've been forced to go Bears and Dryads to win on this 2-decade-old game. It's probably very hard to even think about other paths of victory. But that's why we love Moon, right? That's why we love Moon. That's why we love the Night Elf players that always find new ways. I personally think Wisp repairing shredders needs to be talked about more. I think that builds that purposely go double shredder into, Wisp that make a really great offensive a worker that can both repair the shredder if the opponent tries to do damage, but also, the detonation if you try to focus the Wisps. Night Elf has so much advantages when it comes to Wisp. I sometimes think that, like, a real Night Elf master never really complains about the state of the game because you could have always placed a Wisp in a better location to gain information, right? And, like, that's, like, if you're playing Night Elf at the top level, that's probably the best mindset to have, to be like, listen, I'm not going to complain about what I don't have at tier 2. I'm going to focus that I have Wisps, which is the fastest worker in the game, that can hide in locations that no one can access, that can mine infinite wood for the rest of the game safely, all sorts of things. I love Wisp and hate Wisp. So, as we go forward, there's just more and more discussion here. Oh, yeah, here it is. I literally commented. Remember when I said it wasn't a cool? This person had the idea. I feel like the Liquid Fire upgrade could be buff, and what if there was a dot effect? Love it. Yeah, there should be a dot effect in the blast radius. Make it cool. That's something any map modder or, thinker of the game could think of, so... Love to see that. Yeah, so apparently no one likes my point here. I think that I just wish. It's just a wish I'm throwing to the internet. You don't need to punitively downvote me, but you know what? Let's look. Oh my god, I'm at negative. Now I have to give myself an upvote, so we're at 0. You know what? Yeah, I suck. Let's get... Yeah, forget it. We don't always hit, right? Sometimes we miss. Give myself more. Hey, if you see this... No, don't. Actually, you can get banned for Reddit manipulation. Don't upvote anything. I fixed Hunt, you guys. Bunch of clips, don't fix it. Okay, fun. I think this is like a Blizzard joke. That's so bad. Huntress being good would be nice. Yeah, I agree. Buffing. Okay, a lot of talk about Huntresses. And this person literally posted the same comment 4 times. So, Huntresses were hurt a lot by losing the ability to bounce glaives off building, so a change that would restore it would help them on that front. Yes, I agree. Since they are now super reliant on glaive... Yeah, see, this is a... You know what you're talking about. It's true. Being unarmored also means they're incredibly fragile at tier 1. Yeah. See, but that's the whole point. What other tier 1 unit can have, like, bouncing, max speed, can hide? Like, I just think it's too much when you can't destroy buildings, because what's stronger than anything in a tier 1? A building. So much fortified, so much HP, so much important to the beginning of the game, and the Huntress is supposed to disrupt that. Make Mass Huntress mean something. Mass Huntress used to mean something, and I say you bring it back. But we have other questions, right? You think I would just leave you with one? No. We'll maybe split this video into 2, because we got 2 more important questions to go over. Now this is, we switch. We are at the humble r/Warcraft 3. Now we grow up and we're at the RWC3. As you know, I've come to learn, WC3 is just, I get it. What, you're like higher on MMR? Well, you don't have to be so grumpy about it. Yikes. But this is an interesting question, because I asked you, YouTubers, this question: what race that isn't your main do you want to play the most? Now it's interesting because, like, this is a orc channel, so, like, the results are already biased in that way. But I also think it's true. Most people want to play undead. if you follow Warcraft 3, you want to be good at undead because you see Happy, and you've heard of undead, and you see the nuke, and like, you know, I've been following this game, playing this game, loving this game for like long time, and there's just no more brutally feared race than undead. When the undead opponent's better than you, you're like, I'm not going to win, right? I'm not. What other race has that? I don't think there's a more oppressive race to play when the opponent has higher MMR. But, you know, I'm an orc. I was born afraid of undeads. I hate the matchup. And, you know, I just wanted to keep it brief and short. Is undead really the coolest race? Or maybe they're the trickiest to play, right? I'm not trying to bias anyone, but I do think there is some truth to this. Now let's just go to the losers of the losers. Why is it human? Is human just not popular on this channel? I feel human always gets last on the polls. But Night Elf, I agree to that. If there was one race I wish I could play well, it's Night Elf. Sometimes I think about human, but then I just think about what it's like to summon all those water elementals in a game. Good riddance. But Night Elf, I would want to experiment with Beastmaster first, and I'd be playing all these tavern heroes, and I'd be building my buildings wherever I want. I'd have Wisp all over the map. Hell yeah. So let's see. What does the Reddits think? Pretty nice upvote spread. You have to take into account that undead is the least popular race, meaning there are more players that don't have undead as their main race, and therefore can switch to. I like it. Yeah. I'm a 3,200. By the way, that's like slightly above average. So everyone who doesn't speak MMR, that's like slightly above average. So yeah, average. No, you're slightly above. I'll give you that. Wow, look, see, this is, oh my god, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The difference between the chill-friendly r/Warcraft 3 and WC. We're immediately talking MMR. We're immediately getting derailed and we're talking MMR. But yes, but undead isn't underrepresented enough for that to affect the data. Yep, it's the coolest environment. Yep, I agree. Undead is the hardest to play. It's tricky. No. See, but this person... No. Orc is the hardest to play for me. I agree. I think Orc, you need to be a counterpuncher. Orc has to know what's going on, or they lose. The other races, I think, can pretty much just do their thing, and they have a fair shot. Undead is the hardest to play. We got laugh emojis, but no upvotes. That's a laugh emoji, but no upvotes. So we'll help them out. Undead is by far the easiest to play. Send you to oblivion. Says the human player. Wrecked. The exact reason why I would vote. Yeah, it's a sick race, but suck at playing it. Yeah, I think. People are looking at the image and they're commenting accordingly. I think you guys, the voters, had a great little run there. Undead is definitely the race with the coolest aesthetic. Ancient Egypt. Ooh, I remember reading this comment. This is a great one. Don't you love how, like, you know, this game attracts all sorts of people for all different reasons? This person's like, Ancient Egypt, pyramid, they're noticing mummies, summoning. I have never once thought about the undead race in this way. Ever. I have never once thought of them as like Ancient Egypt cool, but I get it. Nice. I think Night Elves... See, like if I played undead, I'd probably be a different person. Can you imagine if I started playing undead when I was 14 years old and never stopped? Boy. Undead should get the most votes mathematically if the pool is completely random, even since there's a fewer undead players. Okay, this guy's really... However, we do a number for that effect only, yeah? This thing is nowadays, undeads have options. It seems like very different. You actually play it, feels a bit bad, because something's working way... Okay, some people... Okay, let's try to read this sentence. Then you actually play it feel a bit bad because some things working way worse than on paper. For example, without DK, it's Nightmare trying to healing your big units, A-bomb worms, and Aura is mandatory for late game. Then you need Orb Carrier, and it's all unfolding into weird and specific... Yeah, it's true. Or you just play standard, but it's not what you're imagining. It's talking about cool options. Hey, you know what? Saved by the lived Warcraft 3 experience that exudes in this post. Okay. Undead macro is arguably the easiest with Acolyte regen and gold. Yeah, I like this. It is true. It's the strength of the class, of the race, that when undead macro is going on, you don't need to worry about it, right? That's probably the best strength of the race. You can be happy. You can focus on ghoul micro. You can focus on surrounds. Human player here. Undead seems super complicated. By the way, the difference between WC3 and r/Warcraft 3, because I post in both. I'm a Redditor, right? Definitely WC3 is a little more competitive. You can see people introduce themselves as like, oh, I play. Because they know if you just post an opinion without any sort of like, hey, I'm a this, people are going to eviscerate you for it. That's the mean thing about this subreddit. And you know what? Like, I am not... I've been in games journalism for a long time. I understand Reddit the beast, right? I think everyone should have the right to passionately voice their opinions. And really, that's it. Yeah, everyone should have that right. But you have to be nice about it. If you want to be my friend, right? Like, yes, you can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. But if you want to be my friend, you got to be nice about it. You've seen this sub is populated by ID players. Wrecked. Can't even type. No, undead players that refuse to admit their race is the easier side of the learning. That's interesting. You didn't have a typo. Maybe you'd have more upvotes. Undead's getting more popular to the heroes. Okay, so that was interesting, right? I'm interested in what you guys thought, because you did vote more on this one, 86, as opposed to the poultry 55. But let's move it on to the next question. Now, this is my favorite one. I mean, come on. This is my favorite one, obviously. And I feel as if I just love not taking this game as seriously as you should, because I've been taking this game seriously longer than most. So I think this is a real question, because if you play this game, then the hero kill is like the tantalizing temptation. You can either win the game because you get it, or you can lose the game because you've been chasing it, right? So the vocal that you're going for, I actually think matters a lot. Like, would the Demon Hunter be so overpowered if his voice scream wasn't so satisfying, right? If the voice actor just phoned it in when he was dying, no one would care when the Demon Hunter died, so maybe you wouldn't be chasing for it. But as it stands, the Demon Hunter goes, yeah, a real death sound, and I think that matters. Now, of course, you have the Lich, the oh, very good. Obviously, second fiddle only to the Demon Hunter. But here is where, once again, human seems to lose these polls. I personally vote for the horse. Winnie gets me every time. I'm chasing the Archmage till I'm dead. And then, of course, there's the dignified Shadow Hunter. Ya ah ha ha ah ha. I would never disrespect such an orc elder. Brilliant. I mean, what's there to be said about the Shadow Hunter, right? Like, I owe a lot to the Shadow Hunter, right? I'm always picking the Shadow Hunter. Shadow Hunter's healing my units. Shadow Hunter's helping me out. Shadow Hunter's hexing my enemies. So I'm not really happy when I hear this. So I'm not gonna I'm not. It's not a game to me, is what I'm saying. When the Shadow Hunter dies, I get pissed. And now let's go to the comments. Everyone says the Warden is. Let's upvote that. The Warden has a shriek to it. But I think you guys are a little, you see? This is why I have a hard time. What is wrong with you people? That's not why you like to kill the Warden. The reason you like to kill the Warden is because she blinks in and out of combat and is very elusive and is one of the few heroes that can turn invisible when it turns night. There are many reasons to want to kill the Warden, but come on, guys. You switch too much. I personally like Dreadlords. How does this one go? Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like the Keeper of the Groves. Yeah, so good. I agree. I will kill the Keeper of the Grove because I want the Night Elf player to know, how dare you pick such a weak hero. Every time the Night Elf player picks Keeper of the Grove, I'm like, ooh, let me pick Blade Master. Let me get good items. I want to make you feel bad for like thinking this game was balanced in any way. Nope. My hero does 300 damage per auto attack. Your Keeper of the Grove sends out a bird that it's a green bird. I think half the time Night Elf players are rushing to tier 3 is because they need the orb to offset the Keeper of the Grove's embarrassing auto attack. The sound, the everything. It's like you're not even attacking. So yeah, this is crazy. We have a lot of Warden hate here. And I'm not going to psychoanalyze the subreddit here, but this I loved. I did not know that the Goblin Alchemist had 2 different deaths. I have kind of condemned editing Nick to show that. So, alright, I'll find it. But there are 2 different death animations of the Goblin Alchemist, which I think is really fun. I think that's interesting. This guy's like, I barely remember these boys. Oh yeah, this got me interested too. What? You can like edit. This is so cool. I would want to make a custom map where all of the units are like movie quotes, you know? Like, I think that'd be really fun. Like, can we do a Lord of the Rings version where all my orcs are like actual orcs? That'd be really cool, I think. Anyways, okay, if you like this video, don't worry, because I'm literally, we got another video coming that's even more. If you're interested in psychoanalyzing the 2 different subreddits, you'd be interested in this video. So hey, guys, thanks for stopping by. It's been a Nick Oldhead video, and isn't it nice to not play Warcraft 3 every now and then, just to talk about it? Because, man, this game's stressful.